Hello, Wally Lamb here. In 1997 and 1998, I took back-to-back rides on a thrilling roller coaster called Oprah's Book Club. But by 1999, the ride was over, and there I sat once again before the blank page in search of new characters and the stories that they had to tell me. And it did not go well at first. An entire year's worth of promising beginnings turned out to be only false starts. I had a waiting readership, I had a book contract with a deadline, and I had no story. And in the midst of this creative drought, I agreed to teach a writing seminar at the Tennessee Williams Festival in New Orleans. It was my first visit to that city, and I mostly avoided the conference schmoozing in favor of walking the streets alone. My wandering led me inside St. Louis Cathedral on busy Jackson Square in the city's French Quarter. The cavernous church was empty, I remember, and in my forlorn state I lit a candle and then knelt and prayed to, well, I don't know who exactly. The muse, the gods, the ghost of Tennessee Williams. Whoever or whatever you are, I said, please let me discover a story. My wife and I have 3 sons, and at the time of my New Orleans trip, they were a college freshman, a high school freshman, and a 3rd grader. Shortly after I returned home, our 3rd grader carried home from school a praying mantis egg case, a science experiment that had failed because the insects had never hatched. And somewhere around that time, out in Colorado, shots rang out at Columbine High School. And my office telephone rang too. The librarian at a nearby women's prison was calling. There had been 2 suicides, she said, and other attempts. The staff was struggling to counteract despair with hope. Would I come and speak to the women about the benefits of writing? Well, I hemmed and hawed and procrastinated and finally agreed. And then that dormant egg case exploded with hundreds of eyelash-sized praying mantises. Despair and hope. Hope and despair. That summer I went off to Vermont on a writing retreat. A mentor of mine, a writer named Gladys Swan, had once given me invaluable advice that has served me well ever since. If I wanted to write fiction, Gladys advised, I should study the stories that have lasted the longest and then craft my own versions of these ancient myths. And so up in Vermont, I reread for the umpteenth time Joseph Campbell's The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and I began in earnest the hour I first believed. A story that came to me at the nexus of my tears for the Columbine victims, my work with the women of York Prison, the hatching of hundreds of praying mantises, and my return to the wellspring of ancient myth.